G'day ladies and gents, and welcome to Movies with Mags. So, for something a little bit different on the channel, I really want to talk to you guys every now and again about something that isn't games. So we're going to start with movies, and what better movie to start with than Batman vs Superman. It made the cinemas last night here in Australia, and I have gone through and had my first watch of it. Now, I understand spoilers are always a big concern. There will not be any spoilers in this discussion at all, only a broad discussion of the movie itself. For those of you who even that is too much, I will just say this. I'm actually very happy that I went and saw it at the cinemas. I in no way regret the purchase of the ticket. However, I probably wouldn't go back to see it a second time. Okay, I'll leave it at that. I'll just give you a moment to jump out of the video, and then we'll go to the broader discussion of the movie and the actors within it. Okay, so I assume that everybody's left actually wants to have a little bit of discussion over the movie. So, first things first, as I said a moment ago, it is not a bad movie, but it's not a great one either. It has some rather major issues, mostly in the second act. Overall, the actors did a fine job with what they had. The problem with the movie itself is it tries to do too much. The movie itself is a direct sequel of Man of Steel, the last Superman movie, which wasn't a great movie, but it was by no means a horrible one either. Superman movies have been pretty hit and miss across the board. And it follows on from that point. Now, without giving out any spoilers on it, the movie itself leads into exactly what you would expect to trigger off a Batman vs Superman confrontation after the events of Man of Steel. The problem is, that's what the movie needed to continue with at this point. But DC also had to have this movie as the setup for the Justice League. And this is where the second act falls apart. They try and cram so much into the second half of the movie that it just loses control. And it's all trying to compress basically what Marvel have done over the last couple of years worth of movies to set up their expanded cinematic universe, and they try and do it all in the space of about an hour. And I feel this is the biggest mistake that DC actually made with the movie. This movie should have been two separate complete movies. The first one should have been Batman vs Superman with just those two going head to head, the continuation of the really good, really intriguing part of the storyline from the start of the movie, expanded upon, flowed into a full movie, eventually leading to Batman and Superman finally getting into the most epic punch-on in comic cinema history. And then had a second movie afterwards following the immediate aftermath of that set up the Justice League, giving the Justice League itself time to establish and set itself up. Unfortunately, they rushed it, and I think it's actually dropped the entire movie's quality overall. It's really disappointing. Don't get me wrong, the second act is visually amazing. It looks incredible. The CG work is on point. The fighting is on point. Everything looks visually amazing, but it is a narrative mess. It actually got so chaotic coming up towards the end of the movie that I could actually feel myself becoming less invested in the storyline of the movie and more just sitting there mindlessly watching people punch people in the face. And, well, if that's what you're after in the movie, that's exactly what you're going to get. You're not going to be disappointed in the slightest. But, yeah, I was really hoping for more. So, conclusion there. First half of the movie came on strong, really got me into it. Second half of the movie, too much going on, fell apart as a result, which was a disappointment. It really was. But moving on to the actors themselves. Ben Affleck as Batman. Now, I admit I didn't think this one was going to work. I actually have a little bit of a problem with Ben Affleck as an actor in general. Mainly because it's not so much his acting ability, he's a good actor, but every movie I see him in, I always see Ben Affleck, not the character he is playing. Thankfully, that wasn't the case with this particular movie. He knocks it out of the park as Batman. He really does. He had me completely convinced that I was looking at a very angry, very violent, aging Batman. And yes, violent is exactly the right word to use here. Some people will use gritty, some people will use dark. No, violent. Violent is exactly the word to describe this Batman. In this particular portrayal of Batman, Batman's one rule that he will never break is more of a guideline than anything else. But yes, Ben Affleck's portrayal, completely convincing. I had no problems with his acting the whole way through the movie. He stole almost every scene that he was in. I was intrigued by the character. I was interested in his portrayal of Bruce Wayne. I loved the way he played Batman. Knocks it out of the park across the board. No complaints about Ben Affleck at all. Next up, Henry Cavill as Superman. Now, I didn't have any problems with him at all. I don't think he quite managed to stand up to the shine that was Ben Affleck as Batman in this particular one, but he filled the suit as he had to. He delivered his lines convincingly. He was an interesting enough character, or at least, well, this is Superman. I was expecting something more out of him. I couldn't quite put a thumb on what it was, but I was expecting something more from the character. However, in this particular case, I don't actually think it was Henry Cavill's portrayal of Superman that was the problem here. I think he did a fine job. I feel as if the script was not giving him enough to work with. There was something with the character that just felt wasn't being pushed enough. Gal Gadot, and I hope I pronounced that right, as Wonder Woman. My only problem with this character is there was simply not enough screen time for her to be there. She showed up, it was a massive moment. I thought her portrayal was extremely well done. There just wasn't enough Wonder Woman in the movie. I would have liked to see more Wonder Woman. This is where I came back before to really wishing this had been split into two separate movies, where the second movie setting up the Justice League, she could have been in it for the entire movie, and it would have been fantastic, it would have been amazing. But instead she gets a tiny little part in this one, and the movie feels lesser for it. Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor, and here's where we start running into some problems. The one thing I've always felt the DC Universe really had was some fantastically written villains that were really, really in-depth, really interesting. Unfortunately, Jesse Eisenberg just doesn't bring Lex Luthor to the screen. He really doesn't. At no point was I convinced that that is who he was. I could see what he was trying to do with the character. He was trying to do to Lex Luthor what Heath Ledger did to the Joker. And he failed so horribly. I mean, he successfully brought the crazy to the screen, but at no point did I ever feel like he was actually a credible threat, even when his plans were slowly coming to their fruition. It just didn't work for me. I mean, this is a universe where Superman has already taken a life, and publicly he's shown that he is willing to kill in order to protect. This is a universe where Batman is probably one of the most violent characters you will see in this movie, and it's possibly one of the most violent portrayals of Batman ever put to film. And all I could see when I was watching him on screen was Mark Zuckerberg pretending to be Lex Luthor. And it just made me wonder how this guy could be a credible threat in this universe when one of the main characters, whether it be Superman or Batman, the way they're portrayed in this movie would just put this guy against a wall and beat him till the wall fell over. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the cast, as there is quite a few more left to go. The last one I want to mention is Amy Adams as Lois Lane. This one's a little bit problematic as well. She basically felt like she existed solely to move the plot forward and was only present in the movie because this is a movie with Superman in it, so therefore Lois Lane must be there somewhere. Again, it wasn't her portrayal of the role. She acted what she had very well, but the script just was... well, it wasn't doing her any favours. There were scenes where she felt like she was relevant to the movie for a small period of time. The rest of the time, she really just did feel like a number in a checkbox. You know, this is a Superman movie, so therefore we must have Lois Lane. So, I don't do number ratings for any of my reviews on games. I will most certainly not be doing number reviews on movies either. I'm not actually a big fan of the idea. I will just give you exactly the same thing that I said at the start. I am not disappointed that I went and saw this movie. I'm actually quite happy that I did. However, it is not a movie that I would go back and see twice. I would probably pick up the DVD once it come out, however. I'll go so far as to say that it was probably a better movie than Man of Steel was, but it has nothing on The Dark Knight. Anyways, ladies and gents, thank you very much for watching. Remember to hit that subscribe button if you want to check out more from my channel. Until next time, take care.
Oh, I'd like to thank my fans for their undying support, and the people of Gotham, who I'll be seeing very, very soon.